Now let's continue to the next part. Callie, he breathed, stepping closer. What if I don't want you to stay away? Her heart stuttered painfully. That was what she'd feared most. He looked away for a moment, jaw tight, like he was forcing himself to reveal something he'd sworn he never would. I was supposed to choose a wife tonight. Callie blinked. Hard. What? He nodded once, expression carved from truth. My father arranged it. A heir needs stability. A future. A polished partner. He exhaled shakily. Someone appropriate. The word hit her like a slap. She lifted her chin, even though her chest felt hollow. Then choose one of them. I'm not stopping you. I already have. Her breath froze. No, she shook her head quickly. No. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. Then let me. His voice softened, turned low and intimate. Give me time. She closed her eyes because looking at him, God, looking at him, made her defenses collapse one by one. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to stay. But everything she'd ever learned told her that men like him didn't choose girls like her. Inside, she was at war. Her instincts screamed run. Her heart whispered stay. Antonio lifted both hands slowly, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. He cupped her face gently, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. 1 week, he murmured. Let me show you my world. All of it. Then you decide. Callie opened her mouth to respond, but the words never came. Because he kissed her. It wasn't polite or hesitant. It was claiming, desperate, honest. Like he'd been holding himself back from this moment for far too long. Her heartbeat exploded. Her knees almost gave out. She clutched his shirt without meaning to, pulling him closer. And when she kissed him back, truly kissed him back, something inside her unraveled completely. When they broke apart, they were both shaking. Antonio rested his forehead against hers. I'll protect you, he promised, voice raw. Always. Callie whispered, barely audible. Who's going to protect me from you? His breath hitched, but he didn't pull away. A sharp voice cut through the charged silence. What is the meaning of this? Antonio stiffened. Callie turned to see an older man standing a few feet away, posture straight, expression carved from ice. Antonio's father. He didn't look surprised to find them. He looked disappointed. Calculating. His cold gaze swept over Callie from head to toe. So this is the distraction. He shook his head. She's not suitable, Antonio. You'll disgrace the family. Callie felt her stomach drop. She instinctively stepped away from Antonio, but he grabbed her hand instantly, holding tight. Father, Antonio warned. No, the older man snapped. Enough rebellion for one night. You'll end this foolishness immediately. Antonio's jaw flexed. For the first time, Callie saw not the charming billionaire, not the flirt, not the man who kissed her, but the wolf beneath the suit. Then I'll rebuild the family around her. His father froze. So did Callie. Antonio had never defied him in public. Never crossed that line. She saw the shock ripple through the man's expression before it hardened into something colder, dangerous. In that moment, Callie understood. Choosing her carried a cost. And Antonio had just paid the first installment. Antonio turned to her again, voice softer now. Callie, you choose what happens next. Her throat tightened. You can walk away, he said. Right now. I won't follow. You'll be safe. Safe. She looked back at the estate behind her, its marble, its wealth, its glittering safety. The world she knew, the life she understood. Then she looked at Antonio. The danger, the risk, the possibility. Her fingers trembled as she threaded them through his. 1 week, she said softly. Then I decide. Relief crashed over his face like a tidal wave. They walked back toward the estate together, his hand warm around hers. But something felt wrong. Women in glittering gowns lingered near the ballroom windows, watching them approach. Their expressions weren't jealous. They weren't angry. They were pitying. Callie's stomach twisted. Then Sienna appeared from the shadows, face pale and eyes wide. "Callie," she whispered urgently, "we need to talk. You don't understand who he really is." Antonio's grip tightened protectively. Callie's breath caught. Her final thought was a cold whisper in the back of her mind. What have I just agreed to? The night isn't over. Not even close. And as Callie steps deeper into the wolf's world, she's about to learn that fairy tales don't exist here. Only hunters, secrets, and consequences. Callie woke to warmth she didn't recognize. For a long moment, she wasn't sure where she was or how she'd gotten there. The sheets beneath her were impossibly soft, Egyptian cotton, smoother than anything she'd ever slept on. Morning light filtered through heavy velvet curtains, gold-edged and far too luxurious, making the room glow like something out of a dream. Except it wasn't a dream. The faint scent of espresso drifted under the door, rich and warm. Somewhere in the hallway, someone laughed softly in Italian. The air felt wrong, too quiet, too curated, too expensive. And then reality hit her. She sat up fast, heart thudding. She'd stayed the night. In Antonio Marchese's estate. She'd agreed to 1 week. She'd kissed him. She'd let him kiss her back. Callie pressed a hand over her face, trying to steady herself. Her hair was a mess around her shoulders, curls wild from running and crying and kissing. She was still wearing the red dress, the dress that had started everything, now wrinkled, one strap slipping off her shoulder. Her lipstick was smudged in a way that made heat crawl up her neck. She caught her reflection in the mirror across the room. The ornate gold frame made her look like she'd been dropped into someone else's life. She barely recognized the woman staring back. A soft knock sounded. Before she could answer, the door opened and a maid entered with a tray of breakfast. Espresso, fresh fruit, pastries dusted with powdered sugar. "Buongiorno, signorina," the maid said with a polite smile. "Fresh clothes have been prepared for you." Callie blinked. Clothes. For her. "Thank you," she managed, though she felt the words wobble. The maid didn't flinch. "You are a guest of the Marchese family. Anything you need, you ask." A guest. Callie swallowed the disbelief rising in her throat. She didn't feel like a guest. She felt like an intruder wrapped in silk sheets. When the maid left, Callie sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the untouched espresso. She was in the wolf's house, and she didn't know if she was supposed to be relieved or terrified. "Callie!" She barely had time to breathe before Sienna burst into the room, eyes wide and frantic. "You need to leave. Now." Callie stood up, unsteady. "Sienna, what?" "I shouldn't have brought you here," Sienna said, pacing, wringing her hands. "I thought it'd be a fun night. A chance to dress up, drink champagne, watch the rich be ridiculous." She swallowed. "I didn't know he'd notice you." Callie's stomach dropped. "Sienna, what are you talking about?" Sienna stopped pacing. Her expression shifted, Fear, guilt, urgency all tangled together. Callie, that ball wasn't a party. It was a selection. Girls from connected families. Old alliances. Expectations. She shook her head. I only got in because my cousin works cater. Never mind. Point is, I wasn't supposed to bring anyone. Callie's throat tightened. So Antonio was supposed to choose. A wife, Sienna finished. For power. For image. For the empire. The room felt smaller suddenly. And you weren't on the list. You weren't supposed to be an option. But he chose you anyway, and Callie, that's dangerous. Callie wrapped her arms around herself. Dangerous how? Sienna's voice softened, but the fear in it didn't. You don't get called the wolf for nothing. Callie flinched. Sienna continued, voice shaking. The deals he makes. The things he's done. The people he's hurt. His reputation isn't rumor. It's earned. He destroys things, Callie. He destroys anything soft. Callie felt her pulse spike, but her voice, when it came, surprised even her. Maybe I'm stronger than I look. Sienna stared at her, stunned. Then her face filled with heartbreak. His world doesn't forgive mistakes, she whispered. And you've already made the biggest one. Callie frowned. Which is? Sienna's eyes softened with pity, catching his attention. The formal dining room felt like something out of a movie. Long table, crystal glasses, portraits staring down with judgment centuries old. Antonio's family was already seated when Callie entered. She felt every gaze like a weight. Antonio's father didn't bother to hide his disdain. His eyes swept over her like she was a stain on the tablecloth. His mother, surprisingly, offered a gentle smile. Soft, almost apologetic. But beneath it was something else. Sadness. As if she'd already seen the cost of what Callie had stepped into. Antonio's younger sister watched her with open curiosity, gaze flicking between her brother and Callie like she was cataloging the dynamic. Antonio sat straighter than usual. Harder. Colder. His jaw locked, his expression unreadable. Gone was the man who kissed her under the moon. Here was the heir. The wolf. Controlled. Calculated. Which version was real? She didn't know. And that scared her. After breakfast, Antonio guided her to his study. Not the estate tour she expected. Not the gardens or the architecture. No, he showed her the truth. Maps. Ledgers. Documents. Networks. The machinery of an empire built on both legitimacy and shadows. I won't lie to you, he said quietly. His voice was steady, but his eyes searched her face for fear. My family runs hotels, shipping lines, restaurants. A beat. And things less clean. Callie's breath trembled in her chest. But she listened. There are people who depend on me, he continued. People who stay safe because I make decisions others won't. He exhaled. Hard decisions. Violent ones. Callie felt the room tilt. Yet beneath the fear, something unexpected rose. Sympathy. The weight he carried was visible in every line of his body. Do you ever wish you could walk away? She asked softly. He looked at her then, really looked, and she saw the truth flash raw in his eyes. Every day, he said. But walking away means leaving the people who trust me defenseless. Callie glanced around the study, at the empire he stood at the center of. He wasn't free. He wasn't untouchable. He was trapped by duty, legacy, expectation. And for the first time, she realized something. She wasn't the only one afraid. The library is nothing like Callie expects. Antonio opens the carved oak doors, and for a moment she forgets how to breathe. The room rises like a cathedral of stories, floor-to-ceiling shelves, ladders sliding on rails, rich mahogany gleaming under the amber lamps. It's warm, safe, deeply personal. "This is," she whispers, "my sanctuary," Antonio finishes. "The only place in this house that belongs solely to me." He watches her as she drifts inside, fingertips grazing the spines as though afraid they'll disappear. Classics, poetry, philosophy, worn leather covers that have been opened 1,000 times. She turns, startled. "You read all these?" His mouth curves. "Most. Some more times than I care to admit." She looks back at the shelves. We have the same authors." At that, something flickers in his eyes. Surprise, softness, recognition. "Of course we do," he murmurs, stepping closer. "You speak like someone who grew up between pages." She blushes. She did. Books had been her refuge after her mother died, her escape from the loneliness of being the quiet girl no one noticed. Antonio reaches for something on the desk. Her breath catches. Her battered fairy tale book. "You left this in the garden," he says. "I recognized the edition." His thumb strokes the faded cover as though it's fragile. "My mother read this to me before." He stops. The air shifts. Something shadowed crosses his expression. Not something dark, but something wounded. Before she changed. Callie doesn't ask how. She senses the ache is old and deep. He hands the book to her. "We hide in the same places, Callie. Just for different reasons." For a moment, they simply stand there, surrounded by thousands of stories, and it feels like one of their own is beginning. Later, Antonio leaves to take a call. Callie lingers among the books, breathing in the quiet. That's when she hears soft footsteps behind her. "Hello, dear." Antonio's mother stands near the doorway, elegant, poised, eyes gentle yet carrying a heaviness Callie can't name. "I didn't mean to intrude," Callie says quickly. "You didn't," the woman replies. "This room is the only part of this world that still feels pure. You're welcome here." Callie smiles nervously. The woman steps closer. "I was like you once," she says. "Young, innocent, certain that love could conquer anything." Callie freezes. "I wasn't born into this life," the mother continues. "I came from a small town with flowers in my hair and hope in my chest. I believed your father-in-law," she grimaces slightly, "was a good man doing hard things." Callie swallows. "What changed?" she whispers. "The violence," the woman says simply. "The lies. The secrets. The realization that love was not armor strong enough to hold back the world he belonged to." Her eyes glisten with something like old grief. "I watched myself fade, piece by piece. I stayed, but I stopped being me." Callie's chest tightens. "And Antonio?" she asks. "Antonio," the mother says with a soft pride, "is not his father. He is capable of cruelty, yes, but only when the world demands it. He fights it more than you know. A beat. But this world will demand that from him. Over and over." The mother touches her arm gently. "Make sure you can live with the man he must be, not only the man he is with you." Callie doesn't know what to say. And then the mother adds quietly, "He will have to choose between you and his duty one day. Be certain you can survive whichever choice he makes." And then, like a ghost of her former self, she drifts away. Callie escapes to the garden, the place where all of this began. The air is cool, the leaves rustling like whispers of a life she no longer recognizes. Her old life flashes through her mind. Safe. Predictable. Small. She remembers late nights caring for her sick mother, the sound of coughing in the dark, the moment her world collapsed when she died. That was the day Callie stopped taking risks. Stopped wanting. Stopped allowing herself to be seen. Maybe she hasn't been living at all, just existing. And now Antonio. A man who is light and danger in equal measure. A man who could be her awakening, or the end of her. 5 days left. But she already knows the truth. She's falling. Evening. The estate shifts, guards repositioning, voices tightening, tension humming like static. Callie walks down the hallway and pauses at the sound of raised voices from Antonio's office. Inside, a man, sharp suit, cold eyes, stands trembling as Antonio approaches. "This is your final warning," Antonio says calmly, almost softly. Callie watches from behind the half-open door. The man spits something back. Antonio moves so fast she almost misses it, his hand around the man's throat, pushing him against the wall, his voice low and deadly. "You threaten what's mine again," he murmurs, "and I will end you." The man chokes out a terrified nod. Callie's heart stutters. This is the wolf. Not the man who kissed her. Not the man who touched her fairy tale book like a memory. When the man flees, Antonio turns and sees her. Fear flickers in her eyes. He takes a step forward, voice gentle but edged with steel. "This is who I am, Piccola Colomba. I don't apologize for protecting what's mine." Her voice trembles. "Am I yours? Or am I just another acquisition?" His jaw clenches. Something vulnerable flashes in his eyes. Without a word, he reaches for her hand and leads her upstairs. The rooftop glows under the city lights. The night wind brushes her skin. Antonio stands beside her, looking more human than she's ever seen him. "I've never wanted something I couldn't control," he says quietly. "Until you." She turns. "I'm afraid," he admits. "Not for me. For you. Everyone in my world learns to fear me eventually. I don't want you to." Callie steps closer. "Then tell me the truth. All of it." He inhales sharply. "I made my first kill at 17, he says. "My father watched. He wanted to see if I could be the heir he needed." Callie's stomach twists. "That was the day Antonio died," he says, voice hoarse. "The boy who felt things. The boy who hoped." He looks at her, broken and bare. "I buried him. But with you, I feel him again. I don't know if that's hope or weakness." Silence falls between them, heavy, aching, honest. Callie reaches for him. Her fingers slide into his hair. Her kiss is gentle, deliberate, full of pain and possibility. "I see you," she whispers. "Both versions. And I'm still here." Antonio exhales a sound that is almost a sob. He pulls her into him, not possessive this time, but desperate in a different way. As though she is the only thing anchoring him to humanity. And maybe she is. 3 days pass. Callie learns the rhythms of the Marchesi world. The guards who joke when Antonio isn't watching. The chefs who adore him. The way he checks on his mother every night. The way he becomes ice when dealing with threats. She sees the man and the wolf. And what terrifies her most is this. It's starting to feel natural. Day 6 arrives with a tension Callie feels before she understands it. The estate is humming, servants moving faster, voices low. When she enters the atrium, she sees why. Isabella is back. The woman from the ball, elegant, sharp-featured, diamond-cold eyes, glides through the hall as though she owns it. She's everything a Mafia princess is bred to be: connected, poised, ruthless. The kind of woman raised on power, not stories. Antonio stiffens when she approaches. Callie sees it, the irritation, the history, the responsibility. His father stands behind Isabella, hands clasped behind his back, expression triumphant. Of course. He invited her. Isabella's gaze lands on Callie and curves into a slow, amused smile. Oh, she purrs. You're still here. Callie forces herself not to shrink. I am. Isabella surveys her like a detail on a menu. Sweet, but temporary. At dinner, the confrontation becomes public. Servants freeze. Antonio's father watches with hawk-like satisfaction. You know he'll tire of you, Isabella says, sipping wine as though discussing weather. He needs someone who understands the weight of a dynasty. Not. Her eyes sweep Callie's simple dress. A distraction. Callie's cheeks burn. The doubt, buried but never gone, rises like smoke. Maybe Isabella's right. Maybe Callie is fooling herself. Maybe this world was never hers to step into. Antonio notices her sinking expression, but before he can speak, his father clears his throat, the real threat beginning. After dinner, raised voices echo through the hallway. Callie doesn't mean to eavesdrop. She simply freezes when she hears her name. Choose Isabella by tonight, Antonio's father demands, or watch every alliance we hold fall apart. Antonio's voice is low fury. You want me to betray myself. I want you to lead, his father snaps. This girl, Callie, is a liability. You know it. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Then Antonio says something that breaks her heart. She isn't a liability. But, Father, this choice could cost us everything. The hesitation, small, human, painful, cuts deeper than any insult Isabella delivered. Callie backs away, breath shaking. She can't be the reason his world burns. She makes her decision. She will leave before he's forced to choose. Her hands tremble as she packs the few things she brought. The room feels sterile now, like a place she merely borrowed. She sits at his desk and begins to write. Antonio, thank you for showing me I could be brave. Thank you for giving me a world I never imagined, even if I don't belong in it. You owe me nothing. I release you from whatever promise you thought you made. Be the leader your people need. Be the man you are meant to be. Thank you for the adventure. Callie. She places the letter neatly on his desk. She takes nothing except her worn fairy tale book. Then, quietly, she slips through the side door into the garden. The same garden where they first collided, where the story began, where her heart betrayed her. He finds the letter minutes later. The sound he makes is not anger, not shock, something deeper, rawer. A sound like a piece of him has been ripped out. He bolts through the corridors, checking every room, ignoring guards calling after him. Panic shadows his face. Panic she's never seen on him. And then he sees her. Under the old garden tree, her face lifted toward the branches as if memorizing every detail. He approaches like a storm. What are you doing? His voice is broken. She turns. Tears streak her cheeks, but her posture is steady. Letting you go. Like I should have that first night. No, his voice cracks. You don't get to decide that alone. He stops a foot from her, breathing hard, eyes burning. I thought power made me whole, he mutters. I thought ruthlessness was strength. He shakes his head. But you showed me I've been afraid. Afraid to want something I could lose. Her lips tremble. Antonio. My father can destroy alliances. Isabella can walk away. The world can burn. He steps closer, voice steady and terrifyingly sure. I'll rebuild it all. But I won't rebuild without you. Callie's breath catches. What if I'm not strong enough for this life? He takes her face in his hands, gentle, reverent. Then I'll be strong enough for both of us, he whispers. Until you are. Her knees weaken. Not from fear. From finally being seen. He takes her hand, tighter than before, as though he'll never risk losing her again, and walks her straight to the dining room. His father, mother, and sister look up in shock. Callie Roney is my choice, Antonio announces. His voice carries no hesitation. If you cannot accept her, you cannot accept me. The silence is a tremor before an earthquake. His father's face flushes with fury. You'll destroy everything I built. Antonio steps forward, unflinching. No. I'll transform it into something worth keeping. His mother's eyes shine, not with anger, but with pure relief. The first true emotion Callie has seen on her. His sister stands as well. I support him, she says firmly. I never wanted the arranged marriage future you planned for me either. For the first time, the father is outnumbered, cornered, and he knows it. You are making a mistake, he hisses. His mother moves to Antonio's side. Her voice is soft but unwavering. I've watched you break our son piece by piece in the name of legacy. I won't let you take whatever light he's found. The father stares at all of them, the united front, and realizes he's lost this battle. Finally, bitterly, he nods. You have my concession. But don't expect my protection. The threat lingers like smoke, but the victory stands. Antonio turns to Callie, and for the first time since she arrived, she feels not like an outsider, but like someone who belongs at his side. His mother touches Callie's hand. Thank you, she whispers, for giving my son something real to fight for. Callie swallows hard. She didn't destroy Antonio's world. She helped him reclaim it. 7 days. 7 choices. 7 moments that changed them both. And now Callie knows her answer. The 7 days are over. But the real journey, the world they'll build together, is only just beginning. 3 months later, Callie sits in Antonio's study with the ease of someone who finally belongs in her own skin. Sunlight pours through the tall windows, casting warm gold over stacks of ledgers, contracts, and carefully organized folders, items that once terrified her, but now feel familiar. She isn't hardened, not corrupted, just stronger. Callie reviews a file in her delicate handwriting, then looks up at the men seated across from her. Family associates, older, gruffer, used to dismissing anyone outside their world. But today they listen. She points out a flaw in a proposed deal, a loophole no one else noticed. It's quiet, subtle brilliance. The kind of insight only someone who sees the world differently could have spotted. When they leave, impressed despite themselves, she feels eyes on her. Antonio stands in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her the way a man watches a miracle he doesn't quite understand. You didn't become what they feared, he murmurs. You became what I hoped. Callie blushes. And what's that? Awake. His voice softens. Fully. He kisses her forehead before pulling her into his chest. She smiles into him. Not bad for a girl who fell out of a tree. He laughs. Best disaster of my life. The wedding is only weeks away. Not the towering spectacle his father wanted, with chandeliers dripping diamonds and guest lists stretching continents. No. Callie insisted on something smaller, real, intimate, theirs. The red dress from that first night hangs in her closet. She touches it gently, the fabric still holding whispers of who she used to be. Scared, unsure, desperately trying not to be seen. Now she sees clearly. She opens her journal and writes, I used to think adventure meant running away. But real adventure is choosing to run toward something, even when every part of you trembles. She closes it, heart steady. That girl in the red dress is gone. But she's the reason this version of Callie exists. Antonio finds her in the library, their library now. She's curled on the love seat, reading the faded fairy tale book that changed everything. He sits beside her and gently takes the book from her hands. I never read the ending, he says softly. You were too busy being the wolf, she teases. He smirks but turns serious. Let's rewrite it. He flips to the last page, blank except for a few scribbles. He hands her a pen. Not happily ever after, she says, thinking. That sounds finished. He nods. And we're just getting started. Together, they write. Bravely ever after. Antonio's hand covers hers. I'm still the wolf, he admits. I'll still do things you don't like. Things that scare you. I know. And you. You'll challenge me when I'm wrong. You'll soften me. You'll make everything harder and better at the same time. She laughs softly. Then we're even. He leans his forehead against hers. We'll figure it out together. Dusk paints the sky in purples and oranges when Callie wanders into the garden, the place where destiny tripped her into Antonio's arms. The old tree stretches upward, familiar and inviting. Without thinking, she climbs it again. This time, her hands steady, her movement confident. Antonio steps outside just as she reaches the branch she once clung to in panic. Callie, he calls, hands on his hips. What are you doing? She grins. Not running. He walks beneath the tree, arms open. You know I'll catch you. This time, she doesn't hesitate. She jumps, laughing, fearless. He catches her easily, lifting her off the ground, spinning her until both are breathless with joy. He kisses her, sunset painting their silhouettes onto the garden walls. Two people who walked into each other by accident. Two people who rebuilt themselves on purpose. Callie stands against his chest, watching the sky fade into night. Her voice is quiet, but full of certainty. They said I couldn't survive your world. Antonio brushes hair from her face. They were wrong. She inhales deeply. You showed me that strength isn't about not being afraid. It's about choosing to be brave anyway. He presses his lips to her forehead. I didn't tame the wolf, she whispers. And you didn't corrupt the lamb. She turns her face up to his. We became something neither of us expected. Antonio smiles softly. Something real. Something worth fighting for, she finishes. Hand in hand, they walk toward the estate, toward the life they'll build together, imperfect and extraordinary. The camera lingers on their silhouettes. The narrator's voice settles like a final heartbeat. Love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone worth the imperfection. A final whisper. What would you risk for something real? A few days later, Callie boxes the red dress and hands it to her old roommate. Pass it on, Callie says, smiling. Maybe someone else needs an adventure. Back in the study, the fairy tale book lies open on the desk, their handwritten ending glowing in the lamplight. Bravely ever after. In the garden, the old tree holds a carved heart in its trunk. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is play it safe. Because the life you're protecting might not be worth living. And sometimes, the scariest leap leads to the softest landing. In the arms of someone who was waiting to catch you all along. If this story touched you, let us know where you're watching from and hit subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. What would you have chosen? The safe path or the adventure? Tell us in the comments below.